the simplest story, and if you stay home and watch this on television, it'll be told again and again and again. Nobody ever gets tired of this story. I call it Man in a Hole.
There is an implicit assumption in more than 90% of movies we watch. This arises out of the reuse of the same story structure in each of them. Character has a certain life. Character struggles, character perseveres. It is the most common story structure, and it's a damn good one. It works. The viewer can easily empathize and relate to the protagonist when they fall, and then cheer when they succeed. It is a nice, hopeful story that no matter the hardships, we can always overcome them and in fact become better through them. There is nothing inherently wrong with this structure. The problem is that we have begun to overuse it. It has gotten to the point that we know the main character will eventually succeed and all will be fine. It has become a cliche. This can greatly reduce the impact of the story because I can somewhat predict where the plot will go next. The curve has become overused, which is why stories where the villain wins are so much more impactful. In fact, I have an interesting anecdote for this. When Avengers Infinity War first came out, I went to watch it in the cinema and ran into a few friends there. By coincidence, we had booked seats right next to each other, so we ended up watching the movie together. I will spoil the movie for you because at this point you probably have seen it. At the end, Thanos gets all the stones, snaps his fingers, and people start disappearing. No music, just silently turning to sand. If you are invested in these Marvel characters, it can be a pretty sad moment. And then the movie ends. No conflict resolution. You are just left to hang on that empty feeling of the story's lowest point. Something interesting happened. One of my friends had to leave just as this scene was happening. Later, when we were speaking in class, I mentioned how the ending was very surprising and she was very confused. I elaborated further how the movie ends with Thanos winning, which at the time was unprecedented in Marvel movies. She stared at me for a bit and then exclaimed, "Wait, that was the ending?" You see, she didn't know that that moment of despair would be the finale of the movie. According to her, she thought, oh yeah, some will die now, but they will resolve it somehow later, so she didn't feel like she missed much. But now she was faced with the reality. There was no resolution. She started genuinely crying as the emotional impact had hit her. Nothing had changed, really. She had seen the exact same movie. Only the hopeful expectation for a positive resolution was now cut off. The movie's story was reframed. This is precisely why I find media where the villain, or rather the antagonist, wins. They are subversive to the cliché and can elicit a much stronger response, born out of the trampling of this hopeful view that everything will be fine in the end. However, the title is a bit misleading. Such narrative structure is not inherent in villain-winning media. The predominant case is one where the protagonist is someone we can consider a villain, like the Joker or Death Note. This is not the type of structure I am interested in for this video. The main character is still the one succeeding, even if they have less than virtuous qualities. This plot type is interesting, especially when you add a mystery element to it. The entire movie we're cheering for the good guy, only at the end to have everything flipped on its head and realize this was the villain all along. Movies such as The Usual Suspects and Primal Fear fit this type of structure. The movies I want to discuss in this video follow the man in the hole structure, however they get cut off right before the final resolution. Especially interesting is when the resolution is hinted at but then denied. The viewer or reader is left in the slump, having to embrace the permanence of this emotional state. I would say Avengers Infinity War fits this to a T, however it is technically the first of two parts. If you consider the story as a whole, then yeah, a resolution through some MacGuffin does occur. In contrast, a superhero movie that does this very nicely is Watchmen. The group of heroes go to confront the villain and stop his master plan of killing millions of people. They fight it out in a superhero fashion, and just when the viewer thinks that Ozymandias has been defeated, he reveals that his plan was already carried out. The villain isn't even punished for this. The characters are forced to agree with his plan. In the end, the viewer too has to choose. What morality should they agree with? Accept the death of millions and lie to the population in order to ensure world peace and prevent nuclear annihilation, or never compromise and lift the curtain to reveal the truth to the population. The narrative structure is perhaps most common in dystopian fiction. A failed rebellion only to remind us how powerless an individual is before the system. Brazil does this perfectly. At the end it shows a happy resolution via an almost absurd sequence of actions, only to take it all away and reveal it as the delusions of a man who has lost his mind to torture. Escape was not an option. Winning was never even possible. Some crime mysteries employ this story structure as well. The best example in my opinion is Chinatown. Throughout the movie, the mystery keeps getting more and more complex, and each time the protagonist, and through him the viewer, think they have reached some sort of clarity, a new twist appears. This culminates in, well, the climax. The protagonist finally uncovers the whole conspiracy, and just when we think he will heroically reveal it to the police, while also saving the damsel, bam, it all gets shot down. No happy resolution was possible. The main antagonist gets away with their crime and even achieves their objective. The protagonist cannot do anything but stare at the scene helplessly. Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Also, do check out my other videos as they have very similar styles to this one. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.